Greetings from the past, my fellow time travelers, and welcome back to another episode of The Ladder. My name is Ty, and we're about to choose one thing or another, and you guys know what I'm going to do. Is it the right decision? Yes! I mean, I'm so nonplussed with him, but who knows? There are only two ways this will end. I agree with him and take him with me, or I agree with him and drop the idea altogether. Neither appeals more than the other, especially when we are all desperate for answers and a way out. If all it will take is a little more honesty to make him drop his hair-brained idea, so be it.
Look, man. Bro. Z-Man. Zach. Zachary, listen.
Wow.
I know you only want to help.
Like hell! This ain't just about helping, Ashton! You're throwing yourself in the thick of it, on your own!
Calm down! Oh my god!
Was your fall last night really that bad? Did you hit your head hard? I honestly can't tell if you've gone stupid or just plain suicidal.
Maybe a little bit of both.
My head's okay, Zach. But it won't stay that way if we don't do anything about this. Someone has to.
Seriously, this is already a desperate move. The longer we dally, the faster we are losing our options. Do we even have one? Looking back at it, this whole business with the ghost seems perfectly set up to drive us into a corner. Either until we lose our mind, or she gets us. It's starting to feel as if there isn't an escape. We've already become her playthings the second Isabella found that ladder. That our lives are in her hands ticks me off big time. But the idea of watching the people I care about die helplessly? More so. They are much safer here than with me. It's a selfish thought, I know. Born out of fear. So in case things go awry, the very last thing I want to happen is for Zach to take the fall with me. I've already made enough mistakes.
And that means it's just you.
Just me.
Suddenly, he climbs up. Although his actions, the restless shifts in his shoulders, his mouth pressing close in a tight line, and how he starts off again in a quiet note. It all gives away his real thoughts, long before two words even made it out of his mouth.
I'm sure you already know about this. Maybe this is you trying to make amends, or whatever. I don't know. You're making your own decisions here. But if something happens to you, it'll be just that. There'll just be another dead body out there. Please, don't do something like this.
Aw, Z-Man.
Don't worry. I'm not stupid enough to get myself killed. I just want things to go back to normal, Zach.
Another dead air follows at the heels of that one admission. The meaning of my words. Too heavy. Too striking. It stuns us into another lull. Optimism aside, we are both aware that's impossible. We're going to have to deal with the trauma right after. There will be the images, the voices whispering inside our heads, the foreboding feeling, the stench of blood, gore, and death trailing after us. We may survive this, but those things, they will remain in us for a long time. One does not survive something like this without it leaving something in you. Just the mere thought of what might come right after makes me dread it. What this has changed in all of us. But I suppose that outcome is more acceptable. The lesser of two evils.
3 hours.
My head snaps up and I turn to him, puzzled. He's staring at his hands with a thoughtful expression, brows furrowed in deep concentration. Like he's trying to choose the right words to convey what he's about to say.
3 hours? For what?
That's more than enough time to go there, to check things, like you said, and travel back here.
True.
If you don't show up here beyond that, I'm going after you.
From his tone, it sounds almost like a warning. I'm sure it's not his intention. But hearing something like that from a person like Zach, I can't help but chuckle and throw in a jibe, despite how dire things are. Just like the old times.
Make that 4.
What? You said you're just gonna check things. Why would you even need that long?
Speed limit? I'm a ranked law enforcement officer, Zach. I'm supposed to set an example.
I so wanna punch you right now.
Of course, Zach never carries it out. In light moments like this, it's just how he is. How we are. Unfortunately, G chooses the next moment to show up. He slams the flat of his palm on the counter and shooting us both a stern look. Although his tone's nothing short of jovial, the disapproval clear in it. He's obviously misunderstanding the situation.
Boys, Drummer's nice and all. I used to watch his bloody god-awful afternoon serials with one of my brothers many years ago. But listen, I am not having one in my pub, all right? You two want to fight? Go out.
A pregnant pause. Then, without any preamble, Zack and I are both snickering and G's glare melts into confusion. When we both show no signs of stopping, he simply shakes his head and turns away. I'd like to think it's better this way. Better than we part on light terms, so Zack won't have to see every little insecurity, every little doubt in me right now. Aww. That's cute. Zachary's arrival interrupted Ashton's conversation with G. Left alone, the two attempted to mend things between them, only for things to almost turn sour after Ashton revealed his plan to return to the mansion. His friend eventually acquiesced after Ashton agreed to a time limit. Oh. He's seen enough. The last thing I want him to glimpse is another display of weakness. Not when he still stares at me with the same unerring confidence in his eyes. When a nerve dies down, before anything can be said further, before I change my mind, I step away from them. Giving Zack's shoulder a quick few pats, mumbling a lame excuse about taking another short nap under my breath. Altogether burying the stray thought that the flash is fleeting in my head. Zack has seen me at my lowest plenty of times. Why does all of it matter now? I don't know. The sun hangs lower when I stumble back into consciousness and drag myself downstairs. Around this time, the patrons usually start to trickle into the main lounge until it reaches a peak around midnight. Today, however, it remains thin. But considering what day it isn't too worrisome for the kind of business G runs. He has always complained about the lack of a decent crowd on week start, although he doesn't really begrudge his customers for it. No one wants to start the week with a bad case of hangover after all. Even him. Which makes the concerned look he gives me come off a bit too odd. With the kind of danger we're in, this swiftly puts me on the edge, even before sleep completely fades from my mind.
Something wrong, G?
G hums, but there's an undertone of annoyance in it despite his casual and open movements. And only after he finishes wiping a tumbler and carefully settles in face down on the table does he give me an answer. The way he stares back at me honestly makes me squirm. It feels like I'm being stared down by my primary school teacher for sleeping in class again.
Nothing much. Monday's still a slow day for this place. But you might want to check on your friends, kid. Looks like one of them woke up on the wrong side of the bed while you were out.
Would? Another question forms in my head along with a small confused frown. Though before a single syllable slips past my mouth, Rebecca's irritated voice rings from some part of the main lounge. From the sound of it, it appears woke up on the wrong side of the bed is a complete understatement.
Alone? You know we can't just go in there.
But we don't have any other choice,
jeez.
Becca! There's really no other way. We have to go there. If you'll just...
Isabella? No.
That doesn't sound too comforting. Once Rebecca assumes that kind of tone in an argument with Isabella, it usually ends with one of them walking out or both giving the other the silent treatment. It lasts for about a week at most if it's really bad, which really isn't what we need right now. I've hoped the bad blood from this morning will simply blow over. After all of us has gotten a decent rest. I should have expected things won't be the same with them as it is with Zack and I. Turns out sleep isn't just what some of us need. Even G appears to understand it, in spite of his efforts to look as unconcerned as possible, and there is a tense set on his shoulders. A nervous edge lingers in his eyes, as it occasionally flickers over where Rebecca and Isabella's voices are coming from. He doesn't want to deal with this, especially at the start of another busy week. Neither do I. Things have worked out well between them before without Zack or I meddling. But the imploring gaze G directs at me leaves me with no other choice. It almost feels like he's guilting me into doing something about it. I hate that it's working.
You know how I run this pub, kid. No fist fights, no cat fights, only good booze, bad puns, and off-key singing. Go fix it before it blows up in your faces. I'd hate to throw two girls out of this place over a petty argument.
It's probably not as pretty if Rebecca's already shouting like that, but I give him a nod nevertheless.
Sorry about this, G.
He hums something under his breath for an answer and waves me off, turning away and returning to his work without another word. Even with the lack of a sizable crowd, he likes to keep busy. We are the same in that regard. Can't remain still, always has to stay moving, doing something, thinking, whatever keeps the brain at work. I leave into it shortly after. Rebecca's voice rings out again, followed by Isabella's. But part of me wants to thank him for all the trouble he has taken for people he barely even know. Once this is over, I should probably find some way. In the meantime, I have this immediate problem to fix. Gotta get to this before it turns into a shitstorm both of them will regret. And I know both of them will. For all of Isabella's complaints about Rebecca's bossy attitude, or how annoying Rebecca sometimes finds the other childlike manner. It's a friendship they both cherish in their own way. Oh god. Catfight. Rebecca's already on her feet when I spot them in an almost deserted area of the pub. I'm willing to bet my entire life savings that people are staying away only because of the brewing storm. Rebecca can have quite the mood when she's crossed. I can't speak for Isabella. I rarely ever see her seething, but from what I've heard, it can be very unpleasant. The way she's glaring up at the redhead from her seat, regardless of how much the other woman towers over her right now, already says everything. Empty plates have been left neatly piled on one corner of the table they occupy, a conversation that turns sour sometime after a late lunch then. Good thing they are already done and nothing's left to be spilled. Ouch. Because in the next moment, before I can approach and intervene, Rebecca slams her palm on the table. It sends the silverware clinking sharply against the surface. Isabella flinches momentarily. We both do, though she shows no indication of surrendering in the face of Rebecca's temper. Everything escalates from there.
You've already gotten us in enough trouble because of this little ghost everything.
You're blaming me again!
And you can't expect everyone to fix your mess.
You keep on putting the blame on me, but you're the one who didn't listen. All of you! If you just listened in the first place, maybe this wouldn't have happened. But you're too busy acting like you know what's best for everyone, when in fact you're the one who's being selfish.
I'm the one who's selfish. Yet you're still going to do what you want anyway, even if the people around you are already beside themselves with worry. This is how you've always acted since we met, and I'm tired of it. Sometimes I wish you never even came here, because all you've given us is a headache.
I don't like Becca anymore. Even in a fight, these are just mean things to say. It's like, I wish you'd never been born or stuff like that. That's just rude.
You know why I had to come here. My dad.
Your dad has nothing to do with this. It has always been you and your whiny, careless self that has always been the problem.
She just lost her dad, dude. And that is... what? Maybe I should have stepped in earlier. Maybe I should have said something the moment Rebecca slammed the flat of her hand on the table, or the second I've entered the area. Either way, it's too late to act. Harsh words have already been hurled between the two. Oh no. When Esther showed up at the pub's main lounge again, he caught Rebecca and Isabella in the middle of an argument. The latter insisted on going back to the mansion, which the former strongly opposed. However, before Ash could step in, harsh words had already been said. No. Words more cutting than any blade. Each and every one of it digging a wound too deep in the person they've been aimed at. For a long time, Isabella sits there in silence, while Rebecca stands, unmoving, arms crossed and breathing heavy. Despite the lack of words between them, they are both vibrating with anger, refusing to meet the other's eyes. Ever so slowly the atmosphere in the room turns thick and smothering. As strained air no one in the immediate vicinity, including me, dares to break, until the ones at its center does so. Rebecca definitely won't. At some point in our friendship she has grown to become a woman firm with her opinions. She's never going to back down from this, not when she knows she has a point. Isabella, on the other hand. There has always been a certain stubbornness in her. As frustrating as it is to see sometimes, it's what has gotten her through life's hardships. Perhaps even the only thing that has. When you have nothing else, people tend to cling onto what they have within themselves instead. But she also knows when to withdraw, when a struggle turns useless. A kind of awareness almost second nature to her. When enough is enough, Isabella abruptly stands and marches towards the exit, in fast, rigid steps, away from the hurt and painful words they've let fly earlier. She bumps into me in her haste, the impact nearly knocking her off her feet. Instinct kicks in at the last moment and I reach out for her, grabbing her arm in a steadying grip. Surprise flits across her face, an expression mirrored by Rebecca behind her. Neither of them have noticed me. However, that doesn't mean I won't have things to say about this. Yeah, I knew this decision would come. But you guys know with which sides I'm going to go.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Becca. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Honestly, Becca. 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 But that was just harsh. Rather than an answer, once her shock subsides, she merely averts her gaze and hastily wipes the tears off her cheeks, like she only noticed them in that moment. Then, without another word, or even meeting my eyes again, she gently brushes away my hand and runs off, leaving an awkward hush in her wake. Rebecca soon slumps in the chair Isabella has just left, gingerly reaching up to press That's not right. The bridge of her nose and breathing out a ragged exhale. Arguments like this have always drained both of her patience and energy. Usually more than her rowdy students do, despite being no stranger to it. It's no excuse for her to say those things though, and my disapproval must be clear enough on my face. When she finally glances back at me, her exhaustion immediately shifts back to annoyance, her mouth curving down to a tight frown. I crossed my arms in response, waiting, a reaction verging on instinctive in the face of her irritation. Regardless of my opinions about this, I don't say anything yet, not until she's the one willing to talk. Another minute passes while we stare each other down, but eventually she breathes out again and relaxes her rigid posture.
What do you want, Ash? If you have something to say, just tell me, or I'm going back upstairs.
Did you really have to say it like that?
Well, how do you want me to answer her? Do you want me to just let her go there and do what she wants? I know you won't be too happy if I did that.
Listen, Becca, it's not about that you said she shouldn't go to the mansion, because that's the point where you were totally right. But it's the fact that you said you never wished her for coming to your place. I mean, that's just awful. No matter how stupid the decision is from Isabella. This is just not right.
That's a low blow, Rebecca. Even for you. We all know she wasn't even planning on staying here this long. There was no need to bring it up if all you wanted to do was stop her.
Did you even see how she's acting? She's not a child anymore. Even my students can do better.
Becca, she'll listen if you'll just ask her properly. I know you mean well and you do have a point. But please be a little more thoughtful next time. Go think about it for a while.
By some miracle, the whole discussion ends right there. Rebecca elects to stay silent. Or at least, it's how it seems when a minute or two passes. And she says nothing. A rare occurrence when she almost always has something on her mind. Only an uneasy atmosphere hangs in the air when I finally decide to remove myself from the room. She doesn't stop me. Instead, something inexplicable flickers momentarily in her eyes. One that quickly disappears until only a vague notion of it remains in memory. But in that one exchange, I've caught a short, clear glimpse of what has shifted, of what's inevitable. So much has changed throughout the years, We will never be the same person we once were. And if it's for the better, we've yet to know. Yeah, but still... Oh, Becca. I mean, I'm sorry, but you never should be in love with someone that long, even if you're clearly seeing he's in love with someone else. I mean, that's just rude, and I think Rebecca's rude too. Personally, I think in real life I could never be friends with someone like that. She's way too impulsive sometimes. I mean, I saved her because I know she means well and stuff like that, but in a situation like that, you should never go low blow when you argument with someone. Argument with things which don't hurt that bad, because if you say something like that, it will always come back to you. Always. And it is just annoying. I mean, you can argument with so many other things than to give a low blow like that. I mean, Isabella is acting childish at some point, sure. But still, that doesn't mean you can hurt her like that just because she has a really, really thick head. A lull has descended in the main lounge once I return. She is nowhere to be seen, people continue to trickle out instead of in, and by the time I get back, only 2 tables remain occupied. Soon, these people too will be gone, and the whole place will be devoid of anyone. Frankly, its current state already lends the place an entirely different vibe. Along with the soothing strum of strings and the steady beat of drums playing overhead, there's a calming sense to this. Oh, my voice is breaking. A far cry from times I've been here before. And perhaps it's for this reason why Isabella has chosen this place to retreat. She sits quietly in the furthest corner of the room, in one of the tables set right beside the windows. She usually keeps the curtains closed around this hour, but a small portion of it has been pulled back, revealing the busy streets outside. The late afternoon light spills right through it, outlining her small form and pooling on the surface on the table, where both her arms rest. Oh. Long time no seen! In her hands, she flips a piece of folded paper, turning it from one side to the other without any purpose. The letter. A small frown creases her forehead while she stares at it. Yet, there's something oddly tranquil in the picture she has unknowingly painted. Something I can't bring myself to disturb, if only for a few seconds. It's one of those moments again. The rare ones. The ones where she's too still, too quiet. A complete opposite of her usual self. But it's these that often leave a mark. Not her cheery disposition or her lively attitude, but these short, few seconds of wordless silence, when the softest sighs and the slightest movements sing louder. The smallest, minuscule things that tell you about the person and her strength more than any words can express. It's these that carve a vivid memory, no matter how brief it lasts. She glares at me, annoyed, and just like that, all of it melts away. Gone is the stillness, replaced quickly by the teasing and friendly jabs. Back again to what we're used to. What's easy, what's familiar. Where every truth we hope to convey regrettably goes unsaid between us.
You're going to destroy an important piece of evidence if you keep doing that, Belle.
Well. But she's far from angry. A bit upset, maybe. Who wouldn't be? While I do agree with Rebecca, her words still hit below the belt. Regardless, Isabella doesn't seem like she'll start shouting at me. At least, compared to every other people I've aggravated, intentionally or otherwise. Some light talk may just do the trick and coax her out of this mood.
Come on. If you keep staring at the table like that, you're going to bore a hole on it. I really don't want to OG a new table. He'll pick the most expensive one and leave me begging on the streets.
She levels a quick glance at me, her expression dry and impassive enough to drain every color out of the room. It's as if I've just told her a terrible joke, and she's expecting there will be more of it. Really, now? She needs to give me more credit than that. My jokes are funny when I want them to be.
And I really don't care. I'd even take pictures and post them online.
No, Isabella. But guys, that's it for this episode. Thank you so much for watching. Leave a like, subscribe to my channel. If you're already subscribed, click on the notification bell down below so you get notified when I upload my videos. Share this on our social media. Well, share this on all your social medias. And guys, I will see you in the future or back in the latter. High five. Anime.